What's shaping up to be one of the most complex winter storm forecasts we've seen this season. Major shifts in the afternoon model guidance, particularly affecting the eastern United States. We were going to break down the central U.S. situation first, then shift our focus to the eastern seaboard, and then dive deep into the atmospheric mechanics that are making this system so challenging to pin down. Let me be clear about something right from the start. The National Weather Service has expanded winter storm watches and warnings significantly in just the past 6 hours. We're re-looking at winter storm watches extending all the way from San Antonio, transitioning into extreme cold watches, then sweeping up through Dallas-Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, extending into Louisville, Cincinnati, Charleston, West Virginia, all the way to the D.C. corridor. That teal color you are seeing on the map represents winter storm watches. The pink zones are ice storm warnings, and those purple areas, those are the most concerning. Those indicate ice storm warnings where we could see extremely dangerous ice accumulations. For the ice storm warning specifically, we're talking about a corridor that extends from Austin through Kerrville in southern Texas, then a separate zone from the Louisiana-Texas border toward the Gulf Coast. That warning has been extended further into Mississippi, now reaching past Jackson. Over in Georgia and South Carolina, the warning now extends past Atlanta, not just clipping portions of it, and it's moved beyond Columbia as well. I've got to tell you, I think we're going to see these warnings continue to expand northward into portions of North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia over the next 12 to 18 hours. Now, here's what's fascinating about the model trends. The European model and the GFS, the American model, are showing two distinctly different solutions for how this plays out. The European model is considerably more aggressive with precipitation amounts and has a more northern track for the low-pressure system. The GFS has been trending drier and faster, with the heaviest impacts displaced about 50 to 75 miles south of where the European model places them. These look like two extremes, and I think the truth is going to end up somewhere in between, but we're running out of time to figure out exactly where that middle ground is. Let me explain what we are seeing on these precipitation maps. Blue is snow, pink is freezing rain, orange is sleet. I am going to repeat that several times because it is critical to understanding what's coming for your specific location. Blue is snow, pink is freezing rain, orange is sleet. The reason this matters so much is that the difference between getting 6 inches of snow versus half an inch of ice is absolutely massive in terms of impacts. Starting with Texas, let us walk through the timeline city by city. Dallas-Fort Worth, you are looking at precipitation beginning Friday evening around 6 p.m., starting as snow. By midnight, this transitions to a mix of sleet and freezing rain. Peak intensity comes Saturday morning between 8 a.m. and noon. The European model keeps this going through Sunday morning, while the GFS is drier and shuts things down by Saturday evening. Houston, you are on the southern fringe of this. Light freezing rain possible Saturday morning, mainly north of the city. San Antonio, you are right in the ice storm warning zone. Freezing rain begins Friday night around 10 p.m., continuing through Saturday afternoon. We could see accumulations of 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice. Austin, very similar story to San Antonio. El Paso, you're going to stay mostly dry with this system. Waco, starting as snow Friday evening, quickly transitioning to freezing rain by midnight. Tyler and Longview, you are looking at significant ice. Freezing rain beginning around midnight Friday, continuing through Saturday evening. Ice accumulations could reach 3/4 of an inch. Lubbock and Amarillo, you are in the snow zone, 6 to 10 inches possible. Corpus Christi, just cold rain for you, staying above freezing. Abilene, starting as snow, transitioning to sleet and freezing rain. Beaumont, light freezing rain Saturday morning, mainly areas north of Interstate 10, moving into Oklahoma. Oklahoma City, snow begins Friday afternoon around 4 p.m. We are looking at 4 to 7 inches of accumulation before this potentially mixes with sleet late Friday night. Tulsa, similar timeline to Oklahoma City, but I think you stay mostly snow, 5 to 8 inches possible. Norman, right in that 4 to 7 inch range. Lawton, southern extent of the heavier snow, 3 to 6 inches. Arkansas is where things get really complicated. Little Rock, this is one of the most challenging forecasts. You start with snow Friday evening, but the European model shows a transition to significant freezing rain Saturday morning. The GFS keeps you mostly snow. If the European model is right, you could see 1/2 inch of ice. If the GFS verifies, you are looking at 6 to 9 inches of snow. Fort Smith, heavy snow is more likely here, 8 to 12 inches. Fayetteville, similar to Fort Smith, 8 to 11 inches. Jonesboro, 6 to 10 inches of snow. Pine Bluff, this is ice territory. Freezing rain Saturday, accumulations of 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Louisiana, let's talk about what S already happening and what S still to come. Shreveport, you are already seeing ice accumulate. Reports of 3/4 of an inch already measured southwest of the city, and we are just getting started. This continues through Saturday evening. Total ice accumulations could exceed 1 inch. Monroe, significant ice. 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Baton Rouge, cold rain transitioning to freezing rain Saturday morning for northern suburbs. New Orleans, you stay all rain, but it's going to be cold. Lafayette, similar to Baton Rouge, northern areas could see some freezing rain. Alexandria, right in the ice zone, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Mississippi needs to pay close attention. Jackson, ice storm warning in effect. Freezing rain begins Saturday morning around 6 a.m., continuing through Sunday morning. Ice accumulations of 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Gulfport and Hattiesburg, cold rain, some freezing rain possible for northern areas. Tupelo, transition zone between snow to the north and ice to the south, could see both. Meridian, more ice than snow likely. Tennessee presents another challenging forecast. Memphis, starting as snow Friday night, but the European model transitions you to freezing rain Saturday morning. The GFS keeps you mostly snow. This is a critical difference. 6 to 10 inches of snow versus 3 inches of snow and 1/4 inch of ice. Nashville, you are in a similar boat to Memphis. Snow begins Friday night around 10 p.m. Whether you transition to freezing rain Saturday depends on which model is correct. Knoxville, you are more likely to stay mostly snow. 8 to 12 inches. Chattanooga, another transition zone. Snow to start, potentially mixing with freezing rain. Clarksville, 6 to 9 inches of snow. Kentucky is going to get hit hard. Louisville, heavy snow. 10 to 15 inches possible. This is one of the bullseyes. Snow begins Friday night around midnight, continues through Sunday morning. Lexington, similar to Louisville, 10 to 14 inches. Bowling Green, transition area. Snow to start, could mix with sleet and freezing rain. Owensboro, 9 to 13 inches. Paducah, 8 to 12 inches. Missouri, let's break this down. Kansas City, snow begins Friday afternoon, 6 to 9 inches. St. Louis, this is complicated. You rewrite on the northern edge of the heaviest snow. 8 to 12 inches possible, but this could shift. Springfield, 7 to 11 inches. Columbia, 9 to 13 inches. Joplin, 6 to 10 inches. Illinois, particularly southern portions. Chicago, you are going to see some snow, but amounts look light with this system. 3 to 5 inches. Springfield, this is where it gets heavier. 10 to 14 inches. Peoria, 8 to 12 inches. Rockford, 4 to 7 inches. Champaign, 9 to 13 inches. Indiana is right in the heart of this. Indianapolis, major snow event, 12 to 18 inches. Snow begins Saturday morning around 6 a.m., continues through Sunday afternoon. Fort Wayne, 10 to 15 inches. Evansville, southern location, puts you in that transition zone. Snow to start, potentially mixing with sleet. South Bend, 8 to 12 inches. Bloomington, 13 to 17 inches. Ohio, here's what you are looking at. Columbus, significant snow, 14 to 19 inches. This is another bullseye location. Cleveland, 11 to 16 inches. Cincinnati, complicated forecast. You're right on that line between heavy snow and a wintry mix. 10 to 15 inches if you stay mostly snow. Toledo, 9 to 14 inches. Dayton, 12 to 17 inches. Akron, 12 to 16 inches. Michigan gets into this as well. Detroit, 8 to 13 inches. Grand Rapids, 10 to 14 inches. Lansing, 9 to 13 inches. Ann Arbor, 9 to 14 inches. Wisconsin, northern areas. Milwaukee, 6 to 10 inches. Madison, 7 to 11 inches. Green Bay, 8 to 12 inches. Now let's shift our focus to the southeast and mid-Atlantic, where cold air damming is going to play a huge role. Georgia, here's the situation. Atlanta, you are in the ice storm warning. Freezing rain begins Saturday morning around 8 a.m., continues through Sunday morning. Ice accumulations of 1/4 to 1/2 inch, locally higher amounts possible. Augusta, similar timeline, slightly lower accumulations. Savannah, you stay mostly rain. Athens, ice and sleet Saturday. Macon, transition between rain and freezing rain. The Carolinas, this is where that cold air damming really sets up. Charlotte, significant ice event. Freezing rain Saturday morning through Sunday morning. 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. Raleigh, major ice and sleet. This could be one of the hardest hit areas. The European model shows ice accumulations approaching 1 inch. Greensboro, similar to Raleigh. Durham, same story as Raleigh. Winston-Salem, significant ice. Asheville, you are in the mountains, this could go either way. Heavy snow possible, 8 to 12 inches, or a mix of snow and ice. Fayetteville, ice and sleet. Saturday, South Carolina, pay attention. Columbia, ice storm warning. Freezing rain Saturday, continuing through Sunday morning. Half an inch of ice possible. Charleston, you stay rain. Greenville, upslope snow possible, but more likely a wintry mix. Spartanburg, similar to Greenville. Rock Hill, significant ice likely. Virginia, the cold air damming is locked in here. Richmond, major ice event. Freezing rain begins Saturday morning around 7 a.m. Continues through Sunday afternoon. The European model shows ice accumulations of 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch. Virginia Beach and Norfolk, cold rain, some freezing rain possible for inland areas. Roanoke, Uri in the mountains, heavy snow more likely, 10 to 15 inches. Lynchburg, transition zone, expect a mix. Charlottesville, sleet and freezing rain, accumulations of several inches of sleet possible. West Virginia, here S, where it gets really interesting. Charleston, significant sleet and freezing rain. The Holler model, which specializes in winter precipitation types, has been showing 3 consecutive runs with a major sleet accumulation zone here, 3 to 5 inches of sleet possible. Huntington, similar to Charleston. Morgantown, more snow than sleet, 8 to 12 inches. Parkersburg, mix of snow and sleet. Maryland, Uri on the northern edge. Baltimore, wintry mix Saturday, mainly sleet. Accumulations of 2 to 4 inches. Frederick, similar. Hagerstown, more snow likely, 6 to 9 inches. The D.C. metro area, this is a tough call. Washington, D.C., Arlington, Alexandria, you were right on the line between mostly sleet and a mix of sleet and freezing rain. Sleet accumulations of 3 to 5 inches possible. The exact precipitation type is still uncertain. Delaware, let's go through it. Wilmington, wintry mix Saturday. Dover, similar precipitation types. Pennsylvania, here as the breakdown. Philadelphia, sleet and freezing rain Saturday. Accumulations of sleet possible. Pittsburgh, you are on the western edge, snow more likely, 6 to 10 inches. Harrisburg, wintry mix. Allentown, mix transitioning to snow. Erie, lake effect could enhance totals, 10 to 15 inches. Scranton, snow, 8 to 13 inches. New Jersey, you are in the mix zone. Newark, Jersey City, Trenton, wintry mix Saturday, heaviest in the afternoon. Atlantic City, mainly rain. New York, this is where the European model really ramps up. New York City, starting as rain Saturday morning, transitioning to heavy snow Saturday afternoon and evening. The European model shows 6 to 12 inches possible. The GFS is much less aggressive, showing 3 to 6 inches. Buffalo, lake effect enhancement possible, 12 to 18 inches. Rochester, 11 to 17 inches. Syracuse, 14 to 20 inches. This is one of the European Model S biggest bullseyes. Albany, 10 to 16 inches. Connecticut, you're getting into this. Hartford, snow Saturday afternoon and evening, 8 to 14 inches. New Haven, 7 to 13 inches. Stamford and Bridgeport, 6 to 11 inches. Massachusetts, the European model has you. Boston, major snow event if the European model is right. 12 to 18 inches. Snow begins Saturday afternoon, continues through Sunday evening. Worcester, 14 to 20 inches. Springfield, 12 to 18 inches. Cambridge, same as Boston. Rhode Island, right in there. Providence, 10 to 16 inches. New Hampshire, let's cover it. Manchester and Nashua, 11 to 17 inches. Vermont, you're getting significant snow. Burlington, 13 to 19 inches. Maine, the European model extends heavy snow here. Portland, 15 to 21 inches. Lewiston, similar. Bangor, 12 to 18 inches. Now here S, where we need to geek out about the atmospheric dynamics, because understanding why this is happening helps explain why the forecast is so challenging. What we have setting up is what meteorologists call a Miller B track. Low pressure is going to track right up the Tennessee Valley. This brings warm air to the surface across Alabama and Georgia, but here S, the critical piece. That cold air is locked in place east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is cold air damming. It's like the mountains create a wall that traps Arctic air along the eastern seaboard. So what happens is you get this warm air trying to push in from the south and west, riding up and over that cold air mass at the surface. This is called overrunning. When precipitation falls from that warm layer aloft through the cold air at the surface, you get freezing rain. The precipitation is liquid when it leaves the cloud, stays liquid as it falls through that warm nose, that layer of above freezing air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but then when it hits that cold air near the surface, it is still liquid, still looks like normal rain, but the surface temperature is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so it freezes on contact. That S freezing rain. Now, sleet is different. Sleet happens when you have that same warm nose aloft, but the cold layer near the surface is deep enough that the liquid droplets have time to refreeze into ice pellets before they hit the ground. So sleet bounces when it hits the pavement. Freezing rain doesn't, it just coats everything. The reason the models are struggling is because they having trouble pinpointing exactly where that warm nose sets up and how strong it is. A difference of just 1 or 2 degrees Fahrenheit in that layer can mean the difference between snow, sleet, and freezing rain. And a shift in the track of the low pressure by just 30 or 40 miles changes everything. The European model has been consistently showing a stronger low-pressure system that bombs out, that meteorologists speak for rapidly intensifies as it moves through the Tennessee Valley. This stronger system pulls more warm air northward, which expands that ice zone. The GFS has been showing a weaker system that stays further south, which would limit the ice to a narrower corridor. There's also this feature we call a deformation zone. This is where heavy snow bands set up on the northwestern side of the low pressure. It's an area where winds are coming together from different directions, forcing air upward, creating intense snow bands. The European model places this deformation zone right across Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, which is why it is showing such heavy snow totals there. The GFS has it displaced further south. Another complication is what we call a dry slot. This is an area where drier air wraps around the backside of the system, creating a gap in precipitation. The GFS has been more aggressive with this dry slot, which is part of why it's showing lower precipitation totals overall. I want to show you the snowfall maps from both models so you can see these differences. The European model has the main axis of heavy snow extending from southern Illinois through Indiana and Ohio, with a bullseye of over 18 inches, where Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia come together. Then another bullseye across Pennsylvania into New York with amounts exceeding 2 feet. The GFS is considerably further south with the heaviest snow across Arkansas and Tennessee, and shows lower amounts overall, generally in the 12 to 16-inch range for its highest totals. For ice accumulation, this is where things get really concerning. The European model shows a wide swath of over half an inch of ice from eastern Texas through Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and into the Tennessee Valley. Then another area of significant ice across the Carolinas and Virginia. The latest run of the Holler model, which again specializes in winter precipitation, shows a hotspot of 3 to 5 inches of sleet accumulation across West Virginia, Virginia, and southern Maryland. 3 consecutive runs have shown this feature, which gives me more confidence it's a real signal. Here's what we know with high confidence. Number 1, this is going to be a major winter storm with significant impacts across a huge area from Texas to New England. Number 2, ice is going to be a major story, and ice storms are far more destructive than snowstorms of similar intensity. Power outages are already starting. New Mexico is at 10,000 without power. Louisiana is at 21,000. Texas is over 53,000. This is only going to get worse. I expect hundreds of thousands to lose power before this is over, possibly over 1 million. Number 3, the exact details of who gets what precipitation type are still being worked out. We're not fully confident in the exact placement of that snow, sleet, freezing rain line. Number 4, temperatures are going to stay well below freezing for days after this system moves through, which means the ice and snow that falls is going to stick around. You are looking at highs only in the teens and 20s Sunday through Tuesday across much of the affected area. Let me walk through the temperature forecast quickly because this is important for understanding the duration of impacts. Saturday morning, we're looking at widespread freezing temperatures as far south as the Gulf Coast. Wind chills will be in the single digits across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri, and below 0 across the upper Midwest. Some areas could see wind chills of -30 to -50 degrees Fahrenheit. Saturday afternoon highs will only reach the teens and 20s across the central U.S., which means nothing melts. Sunday morning, another hard freeze all the way to the Gulf Coast. Everything that fell Saturday is still there. Sunday afternoon, still only reaching the 20s across most of the affected area. Monday morning, we do this again, hard freeze. Monday afternoon, we finally start to see some moderation. Areas in yellow on the map, that S where we get above freezing, mainly across Texas and the deep south. That S when some melting begins. But then Tuesday morning, temperatures crash again. Everything that melted Monday afternoon refreezes. Tuesday afternoon, better melting, more areas get above freezing. Wednesday morning, another freeze. Wednesday afternoon, significant warming across most areas. Thursday should finally see sustained above freezing temperatures that allow for real recovery. The bottom line is this: the ice and snow that falls Saturday is going to be around for days. This complicates power restoration efforts. This makes roads extremely dangerous. This creates situations where people could be without power in below freezing temperatures for an extended period. I want to emphasize one more weather element. There's a severe weather component to this on Sunday. As that warm air surges north ahead of the system across the Gulf Coast, we are looking at a 2% tornado risk from New Orleans through Hattiesburg to Montgomery, increasing to 5% with higher confidence from there through southern Georgia and the Florida Panhandle near Tallahassee. This is a classic setup for what we call QLCS tornadoes, that S quasi-linear convective system, where you get a line of storms with embedded rotating cells. There is also potential for some discrete supercells to fire ahead of the main line across the Florida Panhandle in southern Alabama Sunday morning through early afternoon. So while everyone to the north is dealing with ice and snow, areas along the Gulf Coast need to be prepared for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. We still trying to iron out the final details on this forecast. The next 12 to 18 hours of model data are going to be critical. I am watching specifically to see if the European and GFS converge on a solution or if they continue to show these divergent scenarios. What I can tell you is this is going to be a significant high-impact winter storm regardless of which model ends up being more accurate. If you like a specific forecast for your city, or if I didn't cover your location, leave it in the comments and I'll answer individually as time allows. I'll be back tomorrow morning with fresh model data and we'll see which solution is trending. We can also discuss that next potential winter storm that could affect portions of the country next weekend, though that S still a week away and details are very uncertain. If you found this detailed breakdown helpful, subscribing to the channel would be appreciated. The most important thing right now is making sure you prepared. If you are in the ice zone, charge your devices, have flashlights and batteries ready, and consider staying off the roads Saturday and Sunday. If you are in the heavy snow zone, same preparation applies. This is a dangerous situation developing, but with proper preparation, we can all get through it safely. Stay weather aware, check on your neighbors, and I'll have another update for you.